from Lily Willy, and I am hoping everybody's is okay as this the elecshywection coverage can allow us in this worldymerldy to be. I realize not everybody who is following this elecshywection is in the US of Mazy, but we're getting close. 4 days now. Wait, let me make sure I'm counting right. Oh, 3 days now before and before the formal elecshywection as far as voting day. Some of us have mail-in ballot wallet in our states, and so we, got taken care early. But a lot of people in this country here have to wait 3 more whole fucking days. Oh no! To actually vote. But that's okay, because maybe they have that many more days for the thinky-winky. For those that choose to do that, it's a hard thing thinking. Some of us are born doing too much of it. Thing with thinking. It taketh the brain, but the thing is, not everybody who thinketh also has a mind. I kind of lost my mind at birth, I like to tell people that Saint Anthony, the patron of lost objects, has been told not to even bother looking for my mind. I'm better off without it. Never mind. And let's see. So to start you off with a little bit of a funny, I have not medical dyslexia by any means. I know 2 people who do. They can be kind of annoying at times. Well, of course, I'm annoying at times too, but then, being weirdness on 2 legs will do that to you. So here's a little, I call them dyslexic goofy woofy, that I saw, and I had the other day, and I thought it was a little bit too apropos for this particular election. So I saw, I'm not going to mention the particular news channel, but I misread in an advert. I misread, "This is how we cover an election," as "This is how we cover an erection." And I thought, oh god, that's too hilarious. And given some of what hath been tossed around about certain of the candidatesy-waitses, I thought it was only a little too apropos for this particular roundy boundy of election coverage. But anyhow, without too much more on that particular theme for now, we're gonna, I was told by someone much to my delight that that person keeps on visiting my channel, hoping to hear more of my silly kitty voices and or the funny laughy waffies. So I'll try to at least give some, and maybe just maybe toss in a few giggle fitty witties, 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 for good measure. So, as you can tell, I grew up with cats. I did grow up with puppy kittens too. In fact, my very first animal companion was a dog. I bonded to cats well enough after 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 my first cat and I wound up basically mutually claiming each other. I started it, but you know, after I won her over, she and I bonded firmly and steadfastly, and and she was she was my best, one of two best four-legged friends, really best, that I had, that was always by my side, until I was, you know, between my ages of 10 and 27. I'm now 37. And she kind of, it might sound odd, but she was one of my female role models for my feminine side. And so I feel like I kind of, in a sense, became part feline. So now even our barking family here, each one of our little barkers is called my barking kittens. They do have a common ancestor, actually. It's one of the common ancestors to basically all carnivores, and some of the tree-dwelling babies, believe it or not. It's called the miacid. Some of its descendants decided to become muacids, and others chose to just stick with barking, and you know, and it's called the miacid, as I did say. Sorry. And also it's a common ancestor of dogs, cats, squirrels, and foxes. When I saw this, I'm like, well, that explains Yorkies. Because you see, we had this little Yorkie. He attained 2 3/4 pounds at his very, very heaviest. And he was tiny. Like when he was a baby, he could fit, like he could have fit in basically the palm of my hand with and a finger. Like, yeah. His mom, who was also ours, when she was very tiny, she could fit into my cupped palms like this. But her son was her tiniest son attained 2 3/4 pounds at his biggest. It was teeny. And he now he had this way of telling you when he wanted you to look at him. He'd look at you and go, and by God, if it didn't sound like a purr, you wouldn't, you know, it really quite sounded like a purr. And so that's why I'm thinking when I read this about them, yes, I'm like, well, that explains Yorkies. And so now that I've blathered on about that for just a few minutesy-winitses, I'm gonna throw in, well, white bird, many meow, white bird, many meow, bird, many meow, white bird, many meow, white bird, many meow, white bird, many meow, white bird, and in a slightly different key. I won't play and sing that yet, because I wouldn't be able to play it that quite that fast as I sang it. But here, I hope people are relaxy-waxied a little bit from this brief brief video. I don't think it was quite as much of a giddio as some of the ones I've done. A giddio, by the way, is a word I coined, which means a video that is geared towards making you giddy with amusement. Or if you like, amusey-woozement. And I stumbled across my sense of humidity-woomer late-ish in my development. You see, as I've mentioned before, I'm one of those who was born old and got younger as my body grew. And half the jokes I make today and many of my known spoofs would have offended me when I was between like 10 and 15 or 16. seriously, any joke song much more wild than Jingle Bells Batman Smells would have pissed me off because I was a purist. And I took many things way too seriously. So yeah. If so yeah, I feel, even though my body is 37, like I'm about 18 and a half the way it should have been the first time. Because when my body was 18 and a half, I was still let's say my attitude was warming up to having a sense of humor, but it hadn't quite gotten there yet. And I'm hoping that everybody is having a decentish time of it, as much as much as our being 3 days ways away from the elecshywection can manage. So a couple days back, Hillary was just 3 points ahead of Trumpy Wumpy. I hope that whoever gets it does good things for America, and wind up going doing good things for the world, whether they are things that in the between 4 to 8 years that they are in office, whether they are things we can immediately see or not. Though it would be nice if of course, if we could immediately and more immediately see them. It can take a long while sometimes for progress to be visible in an obvious way. How many of you have ever tried tackling something in yourselves, whether it was a habit of thought or something arguably almost harder at times to tackle, such as weight loss or whatever, and felt like you weren't really making much progress. But then when you looked back later, years later, you realized how much progress you'd made since you started. I don't know, since I haven't been in politics at any level more than the standard e-activist Kvetch network, and things like that. But I imagine if for things in the broader country and world, that it can be even more like that. If you were to take what was what seemed hard for one person and add having to do things to take action for millions of people and deal with all kinds of things in place, obstacles, bureaucracy, and you know, there's still this thing called paperwork, even in this day of the internet and such. And you know, that can be a good thing. If that it can be a bad thing, I'm rather inclined to think that paperwork, bureaucracy, if we were using D&D ratings, that bureaucracy would rate a true neutral, with occasionally perhaps, and paperwork also, it's a subcategory. Paperwork would also rate a true neutral in rating, with bureaucracy perhaps occasionally taking a chaotic neutral or even a chaotic good. If we were to look at, for instance, some of what happened, some of what it could possibly help slow down or even prevent. Unfortunately, it could also equally help prevent or slow down good things at the governmental level. So, you know, so bureaucracy feels like one of those things like, okay, well, let's see. If you want to help the country, you're screwed. But if you want to hurt the country, or if what you're going to do is going to wind up hurting the country, you're also screwed, because bureaucracy forces you to slow the process down way more than would necessarily be considered desirable. So, yeah. Oh. Yeah. So I'm really hoping that you're all doing decently well. I know that this election has been getting to a lot of us for different reasons. Even people that don't live here in the States. It's a stressitywessful one for a lot of people. And you certainly don't have to agree with my political views to either like my videos or to post on my YouTube profile whatsoever. I only ask, and thus far it's been pretty good, so it's all good. I only request the Westie that you keep your verbiage polite and friendly critique or a disagreement with a view I profess is certainly okay. Put downs, whether of myself or anybody else who posteth on my wall, is not okay. It's not okay on my Facebook timeline, and it's also not okay on my YouTube profile. But that said, you can profess any opinion within that you wish. I hope, so I did record this already in its own video on my profile file, but you know, we've covered pollywolitics a decent amount on this particular YouTube-y-wooby. And, you know, another thing people really like making fun of is religion. And quite appropriately, too. Because you see, by the way, that's a toothpick. Because you see, relaxywation can be a hugey helpy into a lot of people, and it can also, depending on what dogmas, meaning philosophies and tenets, whether of ethics or philosophy or religion or anything else, depending on what dogmas one holds to and how strictly one holds to them. Relaxywation can be very can lead some people down really hurtful roads on occasion. And so, as a warning against the Wednesday, I want to tell you this story. Now, the actual joke in this story, I did not write. It's been floating around the internety-wetty since at least the late 1990s, probably. And I most became active on the internet especially in things like studying religion and metaphysics and such in 2002. And so I first encountered the joke in about 2002 or 3 in a religious jokes newsletter. However, I knew the song that it was spoofing long before I encountered the joke. And so what I decided to do was put a story to the whole song, to the joke, while spoofing the whole song as best as I could. And so this is a warning. A warning for everyone against taking relaxywation too seriously, okay? Don't take it too seriously, Wheezy. It's not good for anybody. If you don't believe me, listen to this story about the monk. The monkey wonky who learned the hard way about not taking relaxywation quite too seriously. I give you super calloused, fragile mystic, plagued with halitosis. Who is Hallie? Who is halitosis and how can I meet her? So, you've all heard about the ascetic monk who fasted food and water 40 days and nights. That's 40 days and nights while walking without brushing his teeth. You haven't? Right. He's a supercalifragilistic plague with halitosis. It's a marvel that the poor monk's free of all psychosis. The song you are about to hear is really most atrocious. Supercalifragilistic plague with halitosis. Wandering holy guy, wandering holy guy, wandering holy guy, wandering holy guy. It happened once in Holy Week when he was just a lad. A holy father heard him speak and said his speech was bad. He took a vow of silence and which really was too bad. How do the Trappists do it for longer? His silent prayers could be felt all the way into Needad. Supercalifragilistically with halitosis. It's a marvel that the poor monk's free of all psychosis. Keeping silent 40 days was really most atrocious. Supercalifragilistically with halitosis. Wandering holy guy, wandering holy guy. Well, after walking for so long, his energy was spent. As the thought of the big juicy steak seemed verily heaven sent. His thirst was great, his stomach was parched, he had given up water for Lent. And in himself the silly monk did verily lament. A supercalifragilistic plague with halitosis. It's a marvel that the poor monk's free of all psychosis. After fasting 40 days, his hunger was atrocious. Supercalifragilistic plague with halitosis. Wandering holy guy, wandering holy guy, he came across a field as it wasn't very salt. There was plenty of room for anyone for to cavort. It took him quite a while to traverse that green and dirt, and he did all that walking while wearing a hair shirt. He's supercalifragilistic with halitosis. It's a marvel that the poor monk's free of all psychosis. After not brushing so long, his brace was most atrocious. Supercalifragilistic with halitosis. Wandering holy guy, wandering holy guy. Of course, his act was a little bit backwards. For such extreme fasts are much common in the Middle Ages. First time it's gone a bit too far, don't you think? Indubitably. What if the cat has got your tongue by his tail? I didn't sing. There it goes. And you reach now a ditch, a spell would go ahead and ring. It's quite all right because you see, it's mostly jokes I sing. I will not take offense if you think me a ding-a-ling. He's supercalifragilistically with halitosis. It's a marvel that the poor monk's free of all psychosis. I warned you my silly song is really most atrocious, and I was absolutely right. Supercalifragilistically with halitosis. So I hope you probably did that helped. Bring a laugh. Too many caseymasey. It's really I will say that particular Phil Spoof song is one of my favorites that I've done thus far. I'm always, of course, trying to make each filk a bit worse. I mean, better. But, you know, Disney does provide some pretty good material. my very first Filker spoof song. I actually wrote in high school, and it was for a mock campaign video for American government class, which I took in senior year. I delayed it as long as I could, trust me. But but I I was starting to not to I was starting to just a tiny, a cynical at that time about polywolitics and well, I was even more shy then, and the thought of making the campaign video freaky wikied me out so muchy that while I did I did make the video and it was shown in class. However, I was so panicked I fled the room and I stayed in the the bathroom for as long as I figured the video was running. And so I figured that it was a pretty good one for to describe polywolitics generally. I think you'll recognize the melody if you've watched much Disney. Trust in me, just in me, mark that box, vote for me, you can sleep safe and sound, knowing I am in town. All that counts is numbers. Health is all there is. Slowly and surely your thinking will cease, and desist. Trust in me, just in me, mark that box, vote for me. Anybody ever feel like that about the election process? But yeah, it can feel that way. But you know, regardless of where we wheezy stand on the issues facing polywolitics and the worldymerldy today, everybody who liveth in a country even if their bodies don't meet up with each other, all to some degree have to live together. And whatever we do will affect us where we live and our old country, and even if we don't like it, we live in a fairly small world in terms of connectywectedness. I mean, look at the fact that someone here who had the YouTube profile and voices an opinion can get responses from people. I am in the States and I'm on the West Coast. Beyond that, I won't say. Someone here who posted an opinion about something might get a feedback from someone not just in his own country, but from China or Thailand or England or a host of other places. And you just it is in certain ways a very small world. And regardless of how someone chooses to vote, their choicey-moicey will affect not just them and their state and their country, but at some level the whole world. And I hope that everybody, regardless of where they stand on issues and pollywoliticsywicses, does his best to think in ways that that are good. It can be very hard to deal with meeple. Okay, let me just keep it there. It can be really hard to deal with meeple. And it can be tremendously difficult if someone of a certain bent is in close quarters in certain ways with someone of an incompatible opposite bent. But if you're one of those people, and I am, just always do your best, USD. Don't do anything that will land you in, lock-uppy-wuppy for a significant period of time. Your cats and dogs and your birds, aka your four-legged or winged people, would miss you, even if the two-leggeds in your life didn't either miss you or deservedly miss you. But you can always do do what you can, when I saw a commenty from someone, not on my profile, but another one, voicing the opinion that if someone's homeless, it's their quote-unquote lazy ass fault. That can be correcty-wecty for certain people, but often some people who are houseless get there from various circumstances. When I was young, I had numerous runaway episodes, and during one of those, I spent the night, just one night, on the street. And a man I will not name nor describe here, sheltered me for the night under a bush. And there were a lot of things that I was dealing with, and and some of those were emotional safety issues at the house where I was, that did not then feel like a home. And my issues in practical terms were mild compared to what some of the people I've spoken to who became homeless, whether they spent any time homeless at all equally, or whether they were currently dealing with homelessness when I met them and spoke to them, were dealing with. And I would encourage you, urge anybody who really, really thought that everyone homeless was lazy, for to do two thingy-wingies. Just two fitty. And one of them only requires thinking. Don't push the second, because as someone with social deficits and some still occasional bouts of in new situations of fairly full social anxiety disorder. I know from life event that meeting people from a group you're not used to dealing with can feel scary, and I would advise a slow warm-up approach. But I can encourage two steps. And one of them, think whether there are any possible circumstances in which you could imagine not having yourself, not having somewhere safe and out of the elements to live. Can you think of any possible circumstances whatsoever? Because I could think of a few. I won't feed them, but I could think of a few. And the other is, whenever you're ready, the next time you see somebody who is houseless, and such, especially if they approach you and are friendly to you first, just make it a point to say hi. From there, if you want to take it farther, then do it. But I will tell you right now, the person you're looking at, though I'm in a house, and a very nice one, could have easily have been among the homeless. If I had stayed on the street that night rather than going back, I could have. Never mind. I know someone who is now a computer techie, and he's very dear to me, who spent some time on the street as a youth. And he is now a computer techie. And he's pretty effing amazing. And his problems as a kid were not being lazy. I will tell you that much. But now, to resolve this on a more positive note, I hope everyone here had the wonderful night, funny night, and I hope that regardless of how you vote in the election, and regardless of how things resolve on November 8th, that you have a wonderful day, and that your year, the rest of your year, is as pleasant wasn't as you can let it be for yourself, and that for those of you who are having a hard time of it, have fun. I mean, I hope things get better. And I hope that if there's anybody on my profile who sees this who is currently dealing with houselessness and or permanent or semi-permanent homelessness or non-shelteredness, that that things are at least relatively safe for you. If you're in the Portland, Oregon metropolitan area, there and the West Coast, I think if you're in one of those areas, your local homeless newspaper can probably hand out to you whatever this year's equivalent of the little yellow book or pink book is, with resources to if you're one of those people who feels like you're not on your feet, to help you get back on your feet, feety-weety, as much as you can. And if your feet can't deal with wheat, that's okay too. And if you're houseless and not safe, then I hope things get better for you. And if you're homed and also not safe, if you're watching this, there are resources to help things get better. Google or Bing stuff related to your issue or issues. You can do it. You can do it, witty. You can do it, witty. You can do it, witty. You can do it, wit. You can do it, witty. Yes. You can. Trust me. It'll be okay. You can do it. I know you can. See me later. See you later.